Asian,
Asian, other, Tamil.
Asian, other,
Tamil.
Vanakkam. Welcome to the Asian Other Tamil podcast,
a podcast that brings our experiences of being Tamil to the table.
so that we can create a community that feels accepted, connected, and empowered.
We're your hosts, Thanusha,
And Nishani.
and welcome to today's episode.
Dating.
DATING. You and me, we're meant to be.
Yeah.
I can clearly see dating is a fantasy,
Yeah.
which it is. And that's what we're here to talk about today, children.
We were like, this is a really good episode to go into after our Sangam episode, because we talked so much about colour that if you don't know what we're talking about, please go and check out our Sangam episode. Check it out. We talk a lot about colour, and I think we were like, oh, this is perfect for dating, because we are all in our colour stage for the long time, for the most part of our lives. And then as we move into Katbu, which is like the marital, openly declared part, we were like, oh, this would be a great conversation to link into dating. Because
100%.
for most of our lives, we are in secretly doing this stuff.
And yeah,
So,
I think, it was, we touch on it in the episode. It's so interesting how, as humans, that is sort of how you approach love. At
Yes.
first, it's all secretive, it's quiet, it's exciting, it's, you don't tell anyone about it, until it becomes like sing it from the rooftops and everyone knows about it.
yeah.
And that sort of is the premise of part of today's episode.
Yeah.
So
Do we want to call the first maybe half of this the colour section?
we
Break
should
it
call
up.
it Kathal, a secret union.
Okay, we'll do that. Because we were going to do the whole arranged marriage thing, but actually, I think we can bypass it all and go straight into like, because traditionally, the way back in the days, you would have an arranged marriage. It wasn't so much kalam at all. Like, you knew from the get go it was going to be arranged. You'd not even meet the guy sometimes, or
Yes.
the person you're marrying.
Yeah, so like I think the way our parents' generation were raised, that they sort of just knew
Yeah.
their parents would choose their life partner, and it's sort of just like a accepted truth fact. You're born, you do your schooling, whatever, they'll choose your life partner. Hello friend, how's it going? Let's make babies. Cool. But yeah, it's the introduction of love.
Yeah.
that,
It was then the
because like
Kala
even in our
Kalyanam.
parents' generation,
Yeah.
when they had like love marriage, it's
Yeah.
crazy that we as a society have that distinction.
Yeah.
Like, oh, arranged marriage, no love marriage.
Yeah. It's one or the other. That's it. Like, yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah, but it's so crazy because like in other societies, that wouldn't be you wouldn't be like, is it arranged? Like if you
Oh my
were
god.
to ask someone from the UK or from anywhere else in the world, it'd just be like, oh, they get married, cool. But like with us, there's almost like this. There's like a interim question that is like, oh, is it arranged? And they're just
Arranged,
like, oh yeah,
love. Yeah.
love. Because like the love route was like scandalous. You didn't
Yeah.
do that.
No.
You weren't meant to. Like Olengana Pullela got married to who their parents told them to. And what I found, yeah,
Just want to put that out there.
Olengana Pullela, I mean, she's had love marriage, so
I'm clearly not all on full.
so yeah, I think that Kalava side of things is been there.
Yeah.
For the
Yeah.
rebellious,
Yeah.
for the rebels of the world.
And we had arranged marriage, which then went into love marriage, and that now, what does love marriage look like in the 21st century?
Oh, in the 21st century,
Yeah.
mate.
No,
could be
let's,
like-
let's say from the 2000s. let's make it a bit easier there. Let's say from the 2000s, the last 24 years.
So arranged marriages, I feel like, transitioned into love marriages a little bit when parents decided to stop being like either dan unnoriya person, like that stopped, and it's now more like we've found someone that we think is suitable. Go and meet them.
Yeah.
And I think our parents' generation actually take quite a bit of pride in their evolution
Yes.
to this stage, which is like we don't want to force you. You know, we got forced. We don't want to put that on you for those parents who had an arranged marriage. But we're going to introduce you. But like the introduction is also like Ipurientan Solonum. It's like an introduction.
But
it's,
also
it's an introduction with like lots of baggage.
Expectation, baggage, pressure. Like that is not just a coffee date you're going on. It's like you go to the coffee date, come home, everybody. Yeah. And you got these parents like meerkats who are like, so tell us how it went. And you're like, can you relax, please? Can you relax? Immediately. And then there must be people who've like been introduced, arranged, and then have gone Kathal, like told their parents, nah, it's not working out, but then have just dated. There must be. Just
I
quietly. Because I don't want to get the pressure of like
100%.
Yeah.
That
I
would
don't want the pressure.
That would be like the smart thing to do, really.
Yes, yeah. Like
you get to sort of like do your relationship on your terms,
and without the pressure of
then
parents.
You just have to navigate the conversations of like rejecting everyone else that your parents are trying to set you up with, because really you're dating the person that your parents set you up with.
Yeah. So then there's like that, and then you have, you know, we're now in the app stage.
Yeah, I mean, like social
dating.
media and the way technology is moving these days, like you've got people who can, you know, meet on like social media.
Yeah, which looks like a lot of fun. I mean, I've not done it, I have to put it out there, but it does seem like, I'm also speaking from a very ignorant place, I am totally aware, but initially I think when it came out it seemed quite fun, like
sliding into someone's DMs.
Or like just all of it seemed like, when it first came out,
dating apps.
Yeah.
Dating apps.
I think
it
was
it's sort of.
It was like an unpromised land. Like
yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like,
and I think it's also a lot of just like going out and meeting people, like going out and like, depending on person's personality, they might not be comfortable with people approaching them on a night out, or vice versa, or might be like unable to make good small talk or confidence, or like there are so many factors that can come into play there. And what dating app so beautifully does is it provides a platform where you're breaking down all sorts of barriers. Like you're immediately able to connect with people that you might not have met, like if they don't work in the same vicinity as you, or if they don't live in the same, if they live like 30 miles away from you, like a dating app can connect you. If you live across oceans from one another, a dating app can connect you.
yeah.
So it really is breaking down those barriers, and also provides this platform where you get to communicate with people with like quite comfortably in your own space at your own pace over text.
Dating is a scary place to be.
It's awful.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's great.
Apps or not, like approaching someone, starting a conversation, maintaining a conversation, continuously staying exciting, like there's a lot there.
Yeah,
it's a lot, you know. So I think it's nice that some of these apps come in and act like a really nice buffer. Like you've got all the prompts, you kind of know loads about someone just sort of looking at their profile. It's great for conversation starting.
Yeah, for sure.
Like
it does.
Under the Hill, I think it's quite a nice,
it helps,
icebreaker.
Yeah, and like at the same time, apps I think also cause a lot of emotional fatigue. I was like 60% or something have reported that they're overwhelmed. Because yes, it's user friendly and it is a great way to connect with people, but it is also a lot of repetition. Like as you make matches with people, you are having sort of like the same kinds of conversations with all kinds of different people, and it's just that it's very repetitive in nature. And like
it's one of the biggest big cons of moving. It is an app. It's a social media app, right?
Yeah.
So it that in itself can be quite consuming, and just the time and the work and finishing like a 9 to 5 and then coming home and then being like, okay.
No,
it's
definitely.
It's like another set of project management.
Yes.
That you have to.
I've definitely like deleted apps off of my phone for like blocks in time because I'm just like I just need to not.
Yeah.
Like I just don't want it, because I'm also then just going on it for the sake of going on it, and it's just not healthy.
Yeah. Or you can probably go through like a series of dates and they've just not been, what's the word? I don't want to say inspiring, but it's not brought you, it's not given you like energy, or it's not made you feel rejuvenized. And I think that in itself can take a toll on you as well.
Yeah.
Going on a series of dates,
Yeah.
and just like, I'm so.
Because then what you do is you find yourself at square one again.
Yes. And you're like tired, you're exhausted, and you're just like, ugh, it's like a chore, right?
Yeah.
Which is like the flip side. And so going on that, you know, talking about meeting people, we were discussing like meet cutes and what does a meet cute look like? So
as a Tamil.
As a Tamil. And like for those who don't know what a meet cute is, it's come from film. It's like when the lead actor and actress meet for the first time.
Yeah, and it's usually like this really like fluffy, like romanticized.
It's like, you know, like in Kathal where they both grab the same book. Like,
yes.
That's a meet cute.
Hello.
Hello. But like I think like also like in Tamil Padangal especially, meet cutes are like this is a whole thing. Like,
you meet cute anywhere.
I love it. I like the everything. Yeah, like just everything. So the meet cute is a big thing, and we were thinking about like in what are the places for meet cutes traditionally in a Tamil person's
in a
life.
Tamil இளைஞர்'s life.
Yes, and we have a little list of some of these. So do you want to?
So we've got places of worship.
Which is shocking, guys. Like hilarious, but so
it's a
true.
great place to meet people.
And like I also
because
think
they're gonna be there.
Yes,
like, especially when you're like chinnan and you're being forced to come to the temple by your parents. At least you find something fun to look at.
I think the temples and also like places of worship, but also like weddings as well. Both of them involve.
Or like Samadhi.
Yeah.
How early are you talking, Thanusha? Come on now.
So many of those, like those two in particular, just involve glances, like stolen exchanges. Like that's it. You're not going to talk to any of these people. You're not going to talk to them at the places of worship. Let's be honest. You're probably not going to approach them at a wedding either.
Yeah, but the thing is, like in Sangam period, you get your friend to do it for you. Come on.
Oh my god! Or like often there is like a third party
who is doing the.
Sometimes even unintentionally, they don't even know.
They're
just
doing
like
the interface.
Yes,
100%.
Yeah, and you're just like, oh, hello,
mate.
Like I've not been staring at you this whole time.
I didn't even deep the friendship thing, but it's so true how integral your friends can be in.
They are hastening your kalyanam is what they're doing.
Yeah, it's like when you will like hit me up and be like, so there's this guy, he's a Taurus, and I'm like, tell me more.
So that was one of the meet cutes we had. Did we say Tamil school?
No, we've not gotten there yet.
Oh, we haven't
I sort of like made it awkward by saying places of worship.
Yeah, I was like, okay. So if we go backtrack a little bit to Tamil school, depending on how and when you wanted to do this, a lot of people found
tuition.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that one. Tuition is a good place. Yeah, and also mutual friends.
Yes.
A friend of a friend, or relatives,
which actually is turning out to be the most probable way to meet your life partner.
Yeah, because it's
through
trusted
mutual
source.
friends.
It's a trusted source. It's like arranged marriage, but not
from friends.
Yes, like friends. There should be a phrase for that. I think there is a phrase for that, but I don't think it's appropriate.
What?
I was like, mama.
And it's all about that, like building up of anticipation.
Yeah,
because like you are in and amongst people who cannot know that there's something going on.
Yeah, naturally, then you start dating. You might meet someone in this very lovely, like meet cute setting, and then you're dating, and then we were like, okay, so you date for a while, you're dating, and the hurdles that you come across in dating, or the troubles that you have to go through. Some of them, involve like colour phone.
Yeah, it's so mad because the reason why I had a colour phone was because I ran up my phone bill talking to my girlfriend. You know what? And my phone got confiscated from me.
That's so common. Like talking to your girlfriend at that age, like it wasn't even
like,
a romantic interest.
Kind of
yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
I'm just on the phone. I'm completely unaware also at that age because, my parents got me a line rental. Yeah. That was their mistake. No, I'm grateful. Thank you so much. I obviously didn't understand the value of money or what. So like, I think my very first phone contract was like 30 minutes, right?
Oh, Like, yeah, because that's how much it was.
Yeah, it was 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Not unlimited calls and texts. Let
Yeah.
me tell you, we've gone through the trenches. It's about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Although there are trenches before us, but still,
Yeah.
the trenches we went through. That's all you got, 30 minutes. That's what you paid like £20 a month for. Like after a certain time.
Yeah.
And I would rack up like 4, 5, 6 hours on the phone with her.
Yeah. It's just talking shit.
And like,
just
shit,
chatting,
honestly,
just chatting
what have I got
shit.
to talk about
Like,
like,
and then-
that? It's like I'm
yeah.
talking to like
Yeah,
Orle,
yeah.
or I have not seen them for 6
And then
months.
like my dad used to be like, you see each other at school,
Yeah.
then you come home.
Yep.
What are you talking about? Like sometimes we'd go to each other's houses as well, like after school.
Yeah.
Then you come home.
And then you're
And
still on
then
the
you
phone.
can kinda go
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Pardon, go. Like it's like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Same with like MSN at the time. It
Yeah.
was just like you were just up chatting the most.
Oh my
shit.
god, MSN. How
Yeah.
did we skip over that, Nish?
Yeah.
MSN and Facebook, Kathal.
Just what are we
That
doing?
that was before the dating apps.
Yeah.
Facebook used to connect you to people, and so did MSN.
MSN was massive.
And like High Five, MySpace.
And I remember the time when I was at that time, O2 were doing free. If you were all on O2, you got free calls and text to O2.
Yes, T-Mobile did that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember. And
It was like
I remember-
£10, and you could
Yes.
just. Oh yeah, that was
And
sick.
like I remember, like all my girlfriends at the time then got O2 SIM, the O2
Yeah.
SIM, and the person that I was seeing at the time, I'd convinced him to also get an O2 SIM, and my life was amazing.
Yeah.
But like, and at the time I remember, so I've never had a colour phone. It just wasn't a thing
No, mine was because mine
for
genuinely.
me. Yeah.
What I found most crazy is my colour phone was not because I was chatting to boys. My colour phone was because I
too.
racked up my phone contract.
Yeah.
And then I got a colour phone so I can carry on talking to my girlfriends. You told me to ignore him. So I am.
He's like, I have an itch.
Ira kaporia, ira.
Oh, you're so good. I've never been a more proud mother in my life. Good boy.
Yeah, so I think that was like the craziest thing for me because it wasn't because I didn't have a colour phone for boys.
Yeah, and
Or
like,
to chat to boys. Don't get me wrong, I definitely did, but
but the sole purpose, the primary reason,
the reason
was not,
why, was
yeah.
so I can chat to my girlfriends.
and I remember like loads of my friends had a colour phone. I think I was just way too much of a goody two shoes. Like I was like
I
the
remember
thought
this.
of doing this is just too much. If I
Yeah.
get clocked, I said through. I was
Yeah.
like, I will die. It's not worth it.
I remember when I eventually told my dad that I had a phone. It was when I went to university.
Yeah, no, yeah.
That I was just like, I have a phone. This is my number. Imagine I had to give my dad my number.
I literally, so yeah, I didn't. But then when I did get a phone, I think I was 15 when I got my first phone, and then like that was legitimate. My parents gave that to me, and that's been bestowed upon by my parents. And like, so I was like, okay, great, like this is a phone, whatever. And yeah, and then I got everyone on. I didn't get everyone on, but I'm sure that was the thing at the time to go on like O2 to O2, and it was the best thing that's ever happened. Or even like, yeah, I remember even when I was like dating, sort of coming out like 17, 18, the person, like even getting into the car of that person I would get terrified. I would be terrified.
Oh yeah.
Like jumping into a car, like this is not my parents' car.
Do you know, Nish? I'm in my 30s. And I still get anxious getting into your car because I'm like, Uppa is going to assume I'm getting into a man's car.
Oh my God. No, but
Because like, I think their brains are just like, it can't be her girlfriend. It has to be a boyfriend.
even when like, even at like the big age of like 25, when I'd with going out with my husband, I'd like get him to like park at the end of the road.
Yeah.
And then like, and you know what? And I was having a whole rant. I was having a rant at him. It wasn't actually any of his fault, but I was ranting at him. I was saying, like when I have kids, I would tell them like when you're dating,
Bring
like,
them into the house.
Bring them into the house. Or at least like if I have a son and tomorrow he has to go like,
Don't drop a girl off at the end of the road.
like when you're going to go into a house, like knock on her door, introduce yourself to the parents.
Yeah.
Like let them know who you are. Be like, yeah, we're going to go out. That's all you need to do.
Yeah.
And I said, they and what's happened is annoyingly, they've taken the chivalry out of dating.
Ooh.
And this was the rant. This was the rant that I was having at him. I was like,
We would
Alhamdulillah.
never have. Like, you see
Never.
how you see in the movies
Yeah.
Could you imagine going
Like,
to
just make
prom with a
talk
boy?
the parents, like, while the
Oh
girl's
my
getting ready
God.
upstairs, and like, that's what I would like to do. I'd be like, oh,
Yeah.
hello, just like a cup of tea. I don't know, like,
I want that.
yeah. Do you know what I mean? I was like, if I like, especially like, you know, when I have kids, I'm gonna be like, that's the kind of person that you go and pick them up at the door.
Yeah.
You know, like, take the parents something like a box of chocolate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're just taking that whole chivalry aspect out of it. Nangal, I'm the cuddler. We like jacket over your head and then like run into the car. And I was like, this is so unromantic. And then you'd have to like open the passenger door and be like, go, go, go. Like, they couldn't even open the door for you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
So
And then
true.
I was like, I wonder how much of that has just been lost because we couldn't.
Yeah.
And then that was the rant I was having at him. It's not his fault.
I've not
it's-
even ever thought about
I know.
that. I've
No,
just,
you know what?
do you know what? I just sort of, I think what it is I just accepted that my
Yeah.
fate
Is this?
is just this.
I think
this
it really
colour.
just helps if you just don't think full stop. Because like,
Yours he got it.
and then I started spiraling, and then I was just getting so like irritated because of the way we were raised. It's just we just expect that. We don't expect it actually.
Yeah.
Like, we're like, Eri Nagapoam, and like you were like, so like we are dressed up and everything, going to like, I don't know, it's like a really nice meal, and like, oh, and when they gave you flowers, you couldn't even take it home sometimes. How many flowers are my girlfriend's gonna buy me? Let's be honest. Like, how many
Yeah.
times can this be from the same girlfriend?
Yeah.
It's not like, come on.
I think I got a bunch of flowers for my birthday.
No, I couldn't get.
We're having a great time. Can you
Man,
join
man looks like Krishna. It was like the colour phone was a hurdle. Then we had CCTV aunties.
Oh, yeah. The origin story of CCTV aunties is just, I don't.
They're like the opposite of your friend.
They're
Like,
there.
If they had a role in this cover, they are the norther of the situation.
Yeah, CCTV aunties. Just aunties
Sorry.
in the communities doing in a community service.
Samoa survey.
Samoha survey.
Have you been clocked by an CCTV auntie, and has that reached your parents before?
No. What I have been clocked for is innocently just talking to a boy, which pisses me off even more.
No.
I'm just talking to a friend, and like her Naradardan CCTV auntie has seen it and has been like, "Oh, உங்கட மகள் ஒரு படியனோட காய்ச்சது நான் கண்டனான் அவருக்கு எத்தனை வயசு?" Why?
And then,
Like
and then, so that,
they like plant the seed in
and
my
then
parents. Where
have your
there's
parents then turn around and be like, "Who was that boy?"
what? Yes, I've even had like instances where it's like, why are you talking to boys at the temple?
Okay.
Because I grew up with them. Like, you're having conversations with
Yeah.
people you've grown up with, like your family friends, and it's not even that your parents might not even think anything of it, but it's because other people will, because of CCTV aunties.
Yeah.
Because they'll turn around and be like, "Oh, ngada mahal padingalora kaikra," and like
Yeah.
that becomes a thing. Like, she doesn't have like a kucha subhavam to talk to boys.
Yeah.
Because like that's what it should be. You should feel like I don't know how their thinking works. I think it's like
Yeah.
like after you get to a certain age, you need to be apprehensive to talk to boys.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't understand how that works in any logic.
The audacity of someone to go and tell your parents.
Because for them it's
That's
like
so brave. I could never do that. Like,
no, but
I could never.
But but like the Samoha survey is real.
Yeah.
Like they think they're looking out for a fellow parent.
Yeah. Like, if I saw your kid talking to someone on the road, like 20 years from now, whatever, I'm not going to ring you up and be like, "Hello."
You might.
No.
Imagine, okay, let's do role play.
I'm more likely to absolutely intercept
Go up to
your
intercept.
kid.
Yeah.
I'd be like, "You good? What's happening?" And probably just like embarrass them for bands,
Yeah.
and then carry on driving. I
would rather that happen and they just know they've run into you and not, but like I don't.
No, but
what
I
I
don't-
wouldn't want is like the panic.
I wouldn't want them to panic. Like, if I'd seen them, whoever they're with, I'm gonna say hello to them. To be fair, if it does look like there's some lull there, I'm gonna leave that alone. Like, let the love blossom on its own, innit? Doesn't need me to be like, "Hello." just so overly keen. I think our generation aunties are the opposite. We're like, so do you love him?
Oh my god, children just be cringy out here. They'd be like,
And they'll be like, can you just go away?
Yeah.
Can you just leave me alone? Like, I think we're like the complete opposite, because like that's exactly what I would be like. I'd be like, so do you love him? And I'd probably like if she I don't know why you're having a daughter, but you're having a daughter in this
having a
scenario.
daughter.
But I absolutely, when you went there, I'd be like, so who's that boy?
Yeah,
Like,
100%. But
I'm
I
not
would want
gonna
to.
give
I
off-
would want to
yeah.
harness a relationship where they could talk to you about it.
Yeah, like
Because as long as a adult in my
Yeah.
child's life
Yeah.
has seen her and knows she's safe, that's all that matters.
Yeah, like,
And
and
my
if
thing is, like, I'm talking to a boy in the
Yeah.
confines of the temple. Like, I'm quite.
And if
safe.
it's like in an area where like the temple, or if it's like outside their school, I am absolutely not gonna, even if I clock them in like a shopping mall, like away from the school, whatever.
Yeah.
I am not gonna.
I think it's
There's
also
so much
though
audacity there.
when you. I'm gonna like play devil's advocate a little bit. Come with me on this journey.
Yeah.
I think like when you're our parent, like if we're our parents' generation, or even if it's like our kids, and they're at that like 15, like 14 to 16 vayası, when they're going to the temple, and I think it's less so going to be a problem with kids in the coming years, but definitely in our generation, you'd get older Ungal, young men, even like who are not teens anymore, who are men,
Predatorial.
yeah. I was gonna say wanting to approach, but
They're-
yes,
no, but they were especially
predatorial.
when we were growing up. There was a lot of
so
that.
I think
Yeah.
that there might have been the CCTV aunties needed for that kind of stuff.
No, I get other than that. I can like if that
But then
person,
like a third party auntie doesn't know who your child is talking to, right?
yeah.
Hence why they then feel
If they are a third party, just stay as a third party in it. You're not a first party.
100.
Like live in your third person genre. Like stay there. Like, it was just it was a bit tough. Like, I mean, I've never been clocked by a CCTV auntie. It's never happened to me. But when it has happened to other people, it's had some really bad knock-on effects. It's been really bad for some of these, like especially the girls that I've been raised with. Like, it's been really tough for them. Like, especially like something like you said, you know, sometimes it could be like an actual love interest. Sometimes it could be a random Pedian.
Yeah.
And I think also we were in the era of like putting a lot of kadikakura and stuff like that. So like you said, the minute you are talking to someone of the opposite sex, it's already taboo.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether it's a serious love interest or not, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
And what was also interesting was even under via the lane, like 15, 16, there are a lot of people who have married their like childhood sweetheart. And you know, they've under Nokatlia, they've been dating for like years and years and years. And even if you were going to marry this person, it was still like cut it. It wasn't ever like, look, I love this person, I see a future there. It wasn't ever like, you know, okay, fine, but your priority should be this. Like, I'm not going to say break up with him, but like focus on don't forget to focus on yourself. Is the conversation, if I was to have children, that's the conversation that I would have. I'm not going to like pity on them now. No. Is that even going to happen though? Is that even going to happen, right? It should be like, listen, I understand that they're your world right now, but in about 5 years, you'll thank me.
Yeah.
Or like, you know, like focus on yourself, also continue the relationship.
Yeah. I think it's also recognizing that like sometimes whilst our parents are doing things with like our best interest at heart, you're dealing with adolescence. There's like a lot of hormone surging.
And it's undeniable they've come here.
But it's also like by being like, I forbid you. You're just going to you're going to cause them to find creative ways around it. Because like we've all done it.
Innovators.
100.
I don't have the energy for that shit now.
I remember one time, this is not related to Kalla Kathal, but I was doing something Kallam. I was like skiving off of school, and it was at a stage in my life where I wear glasses, and I had not been given contact lenses at that point. So I would take my glasses off. And this is how, you know, whilst I say like I figured ways around things, I also was moving so careless. I'd gone to like Ilford.
Also, I never went to Ilford. Like,
I skived off school and went to Ilford.
No,
like why?
I would say sometimes Ilford was worse than East Ham.
Yeah,
So
probably
on some days.
And so
Yeah.
I'm at the Cineworld and I've seen like a car of my dad's colour pull by, right? Like
Right.
outside the cinema. And
would've
mind you,
died.
I don't have my glasses on, right? So it's blurry. I put my glasses on and it's my dad. Oh my God. And he's thank God the guy's on the phone. This was like at the time where you had like the Bluetooth headsets.
Oh yeah.
Nalla arata adikara. And he's
Yeah.
not even turned.
Yeah.
And I legged it. I shot myself. I don't know what I was doing. I was moving so careless.
No.
Like at times like that, you're like, you should get caught. And that is exactly what happened. Is next on the list of barriers, hurdles and obstacles in a relationship.
There was one that we kind of didn't talk about, and that was on the dating apps, bumping into people that you know, that you don't want to know.
You know what? I don't feel like it's quite fair that we go down this rabbit hole because you've not been on dating apps.
No,
so
I
like
haven't.
you only know from what I've told you, and you
Yes.
get secondhand
And
entertainment from it.
other people who've been on apps and they're like, look, and I'm like, oh.
Like seeing my cousins, and I'm like,
Oh my god, that's happened once where like someone has shown me a relative.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I
And
don't
I'm
need
like,
to see this.
oh,
No, it's more funny than it is. I'm like, "Ugh."
yeah, and I'm like, oh, okay. I was like, this is my cousin, by the way. If you're interested,
It's
we can be
also,
related
like,
in the future.
It just hots your life up because maybe that cousin and you aren't that close, right? But now you know they're dating. Now you know they're looking for someone.
Yeah.
And now it's like, do I help them? Do I just?
I don't think so. I don't think you go have that conversation. It's just
Do
like
I just don't? I'm just not gonna. I mean, I'm never gonna acknowledge it ever. Like,
yeah.
it's just not gonna be a thing. But it is funny when
Yeah.
you come across like family members, people that you know in your community, people that you may try to avoid in your community.
Yeah.
Like just that whole
It
thing.
definitely is. And I think like I was saying to you, like as much as it's for some people it's like, whoa, I've just seen someone like I've definitely been in instances where I've seen someone like from the community and I'm almost like I've definitely been like I'm not going to act on it, but if they acted on it,
Then,
I would.
yeah, okay.
So yeah, I do, and like I was saying, what I think that dating apps is quite instrumental in doing is like if you do see someone in the community that you've got sort of like a fancy for, but you don't want to approach them in person, or you don't, you know, we're all human at the end of the day. Some of us don't have like confidence to. I definitely wouldn't really go up to a person and be like, hey, how you doing?
No, and that's what's I was sort of gonna caveat that we completely also, you know, we say all this, but we're also completely aware that dating is not easy, approach people is not easy, having conversations like this is so tough. So take what we say with a bucket of salt.
Yeah.
Each their own, whatever methodology works for you, man. And so now you've found the love of your life and you're now transitioning into telling the family.
Okay.
Which is where we're at right now. And I think we were sort of just thinking about the pressures that come with that. And relating it back to Sangam, we are now moving the Katpu and
Kalavanda.
No. Katpu and Nokata Noki Poi Kondirikaro.
Oh.
Is what I was trying to say. So we're going from like Kalavanda
and the Katpu Kathal, for those of you who have not.
No, we shouldn't tell them.
Oh, okay. Go and watch the Sangam episode, okay?
Yes.
And then you'll know what Katpu Kathal is. Do you know what? Do you know what throws me off about it? Is because the word Katpu in today's day and age has like a completely, and it sounds so weird.
Yeah,
when
but
you say
I
it.
do think there is, I do think there is some connotation to that word also being that, meaning that. But I think they've romanticized Katpu and kind of made it like marital, not just the womb. So,
and your chastity,
all of that, exactly. So, you know, telling your parents, I think even that isn't a straightforward thing. It was also
sorry,
even that you've made it this far in your life and you're like, okay, now it's the biggest hurdle, telling your mama appa. And I think that comes with its own it's tough, man. It's tough because a lot of people put it off because you know the minute you tell them it's Kalyanam.
Yes. And so like
in most situations,
when I speak with my girlfriends who've, you know, have been dating, and some of them are just like, we don't want to tell our parents because when we do, it will like, and I think it's because the dating as a concept on our parents is lost.
Yeah.
They're just like, like time waste pannuvan. Get married.
They just see it as time waste.
I think it's
Which is
also
so funny.
no, but I think it's also like they're scared it will muri.
Yeah. They have no faith. Oh, ye of little faith.
Oh, ye of little faith. There's no trust at all.
Yeah.
And it's like, even like I've even heard like parents be like, even after you've gotten engaged, like proposed, you can still break up.
Yeah.
Or
like
but
the
like,
engagement means nothing to them.
or even like sometimes like,
Which is hilarious.
yeah, and it's like we'll go into it, but it's how they've viewed a union.
Yeah.
And like where, at what point does that union hold value to them? And also sort of like trying to avoid it breaking off, which I find such a foreign, like I find it so foreign to understand, because like they're so intent, like by nature, that it shouldn't break up. Yeah. So like, let's quickly get them married. Yeah. And then like,
and then you'll never break up. Yeah.
I'm like, I don't think that quite works either.
Yeah. And I think telling your parents is interesting in its own right, because people do put it off because they're like, no, I'm not ready for marriage, or we're still taking that time.
Oh yeah.
And that's completely fair. Like if you know that's the kind of situation you're going to be put in the minute you tell your family, the payam is going to be there with you, you know, like, I just want to live my life a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Just want to date, just have some fun. And going into telling your family, and you touched on it when we're doing our sort of briefing for the episode, coming from like a divorced family, how you'd navigate the conversations with your parents. And like, also, I think for me, in regards to telling parents, how do I approach that? Or like the tactics involved.
Yes.
Is probably a better way to.
I think most people in our generation will have to approach it as like tactically.
Yes, it's a game of chess.
It is strategized. Yes, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It's not something where you can sort of just like sit down and be like, "Hi, so yeah," no.
Yeah.
I think you sort of just do a lot of damage control internally.
Yes. Oh my god, yeah.
And
a lot of that has to do with, which we'll talk about later, the way we've been raised, and having to sort of think like
for them
and hypothesize what they're going to say.
It's very common for children who are raised by immigrants. Like we're all suffering from the same affliction, basically.
Like, this person's going to react like this person's going to react like this, and this is how I should phrase this here, this is how I should phrase this here.
Like, I've not ever spoken to my dad about anyone that I've been speaking to or seeing. I just cannot.
No.
Like, I just cannot. No. Until I've met someone that I am like certain about. Yeah. It's not a conversation I'm willing to even entertain with my father. No. And then being raised by Amma, I think as a single mother, especially in our community, people were sort of waiting for her downfall when it came to raising children, because a lot of people weren't supportive of the fact that she had chosen to, in their eyes, pirikku the kudumbam, right? Even though that is what was needed for both of them, like I've touched in like previous episodes. But I think because of that, Amma had to sort of raise me very tactfully to make sure she wasn't like pushing me away. Yeah. Like reverse, like she almost had to do reverse psychology a little bit. Yeah. And she was quite open and honest with me, like whilst raising me, about speaking to boys. Like, I think it was a little bit tough for me, because I'd talk to her and be like, yeah, boys, normal. Yeah. Like, I wasn't sort of like, as a teenager, I wasn't like seeing boys and I'm like, oh my God, boys. Like, it wasn't like that. It was very normal thing, normal interaction. But even still, like, Amma very much felt that pressure when people would approach her, and it immediately becomes for her a reflection of her parenting. Yeah. And it's like, she had to deal with all of that, but she also had to be so careful with how she like exposed me to those conversations, because I think what would have been far worse for her was to turn around and bring me to a position where I would just move away from her and rebel against her and keep her out of the loop.
Yeah.
And like she did sort of naturally, like with I think all mothers, like you want to be your child's friend, but you also have to be a parent.
Absolutely.
And I think she had to sort of navigate that dynamic for her. And
I think it was very similar for me because my dad was, both my parents were like, even like since growing up, like when you used to have like birthday parties, my like mum and dad would invite the boys in my class as well to my wudu. Yeah.
wow.
Like in primary school. And when I've got photos of like myself in primary school, you've got like the guys in my class, like cutting a cake with me. It was always,
that's cool.
yeah. And like, it was always very much like, and like in my secondary school, my dad knew of my friends, and like, he was never, you can't talk to them. But I think also for him, it was very much like, for both my parents, it was just like, once you finish your education, you can then think about this. Like, this isn't the time. This is not the time. In the ulam vayadile idu neram idukkandu neram illa.
Yeah.
Adukkandu neram varum appa. Which I understand. I do understand, but it's at the same time, it's very it's confusing because you don't know how to approach the conversation and when to approach the conversation, which I struggled with a lot because I was like, okay, right, I've done all of this. Do I just go straight into like boys?
That's what
How
they
long do I
want,
wait?
though, don't they?
How long do I wait?
You're meant to wait, right? And then as soon as you finish education, it's like, so apa kalyanam? And it's almost like
So look at Muthukutti.
I know.
He is having the time of his life this episode. I can't.
And they do, though. They do expect you to put it all on hold and almost like have blinders on until you've gone through your education, you started a job. Yeah. And then udana, it's like, so apa kalyanam? Are you ready to turn that switch on? Because like we're ready also. We're ready to become grandparents. It's now on you.
Yeah. No. Like, no. I need time now. Like, I've studied. Then I want to work and live my life a little bit. Like,
yeah, and that's not something, again, similar to dating. I don't think that's a concept that they're quite familiar with.
No, they're
because they also didn't get the opportunity to live their life. It was like some of them didn't even like were getting hitched off, written off at like 18.
Yeah. And then we outgrow that like color cardal phase to just living our own best life. And then we're like, okay, Kalyan, and you're like, oh, really? And also like telling your parents also comes with like your if you do have any snaky cousins, hiding, especially if you've got cousins who are the same age, like hiding that from your cousins. Like, I am so blessed that I've never had this problem, like, ever. So it's never been a concern for me because everyone is like, we all keep each other's rahasyams. So like, we know that like it's come to a point now, it's been so many years of keeping secrets, the adults know that we know everything, and like they will just openly say ungalukku theriyum ungalku ellarkum ellam theriyum undu neengal ungalukku solla mattinga adum ungalukku theriyum. So like we're like at that stage, but I do know people who would just like meet people off their stories, like your cousins off your stories, or like, you know, like
it's also like for me, the only cousin of mine that sort of knew anything about like when I was younger and I was talking to anyone was actually like your husband, because he's the closest.
Oh, my husband.
Yes. No, yes. I've not got a husband.
I was like, my husband. Yes, my husband.
Was your husband.
Yes.
Because he was the closest cousin I had to my age.
This is like another mutual friend. We haven't like an exemplar situation of,
we've not, have we not disclosed
I don't know.
We've got done quite well.
I don't know. But me and my husband met at tuition. We were not dating from tuition, but I've known him since tuition. So our meet cute technically is tuition. Yeah. And then years later, we kind of like rekindled that. But like about 6 months before rekindling that, me and her had a conversation about him. And then she was like, he's my cousin. I was like, the fuck? Yeah. And so now we're married. So anyway.
We are married. Her and him are married.
I'm always looking for new applicants.
My first cousins are all a lot older than me. So I didn't have the ability to sort of like talk to them. And like when I mean like they were maybe over 10 years older than me.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like I couldn't really talk to them. Yeah, shout out to Nishani for bringing my cool cousin back into my life.
Multi-purpose I am. I genuinely do think up until the Kalyana Kada does come into the conversation, it is a lot of fun. Like it actually is. Like it is a lot of fun because you are just like there's almost like no responsibility.
Yeah, because you're sort of just like you're doing your thing. It's just you two. You're sort of like in a vacuum.
Yeah.
It's nice, and then you tell the parents, and then they're like, "So marriage."
Yeah.
And then you're just like, right, wedding
you
planning.
have to start thinking about things that you probably haven't thought about.
Yeah.
But at least thinking about things more seriously. And also we were talking about how a lot of the time people tell their families that they are dating is so that they can travel abroad together.
No, interesting.
That, but also the flip side, you don't tell them because you want to travel.
Yes.
It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Of like, oh, I do want to my parents because sometimes they might, at least they know that I'm traveling, which I think is actually quite unheard of because a lot of people just travel without telling them.
No, because then they need to be okay with the idea of you spending the night with
sleepover
said partner.
with your romantic interest. Whoa.
Oh no.
So
Are
much
you
colour.
mad? Parents just be self-imploding everywhere.
Yeah. I have a plethora of stories I could tell you about parents beefing their kids for like sleepovers, like friend stories. Like it is wild the methods by which parents will stop you from spending a night together
With a partner.
Yeah.
Please.
I can't, man. They're not my stories, so I can't. But there have been some crazy shit. Yeah. Again, comes down to virginity and the. I just want to throw something out there.
1 second. I don't think we need to skate around that. It is always about
and
that.
I'm gonna just throw this out there. Did you think that nothing was happening the entirety of the relationship?
Oh, why are you bursting their bubbles for?
I just want to put it out there. Like,
Yeah, but like I think they.
how many of you actually believe nothing had happened?
No, I think they no. I think they know. I think it's more of maybe
We don't want to enable it further.
Yes, and maybe there's like, and I think that also might be like because they probably know all that cousin was going on anyway.
Yeah,
They probably know. They are also humans, you know.
I do think a lot of them are quite naive about it as well. They're like, nah. I think
I don't think so.
I don't know.
No, some of these aunties, these CCTV aunties, they come out with their little jokes when you hear them sometimes. They know,
and
what
it's wild because they equate it with like, a sleepover is equal to having sex. Like nighttime is sex time. I used to laugh and I would call people out on it. And like me and my family were really close. So I would genuinely call them out to just be like, do you really think they're only having sex in the nighttime? Like, answer this. Answer me. Like,
you could be causing problems with
and
people.
Like, do you really think? And
I feel like
it's funny.
You're doing little nada the moment.
No, but it's not nada. They're like confronted. Like,
yeah, but then what happens if their way of confronting is like you can't spend time with them? You can't go out in the daytime either.
No, but if they did that, I'd appreciate it more. Like, at least you understand that it's not just iravu. It's not just iravu. What is the association? What is the association with like you cannot spend the night? As if that is the ultra most romantic setting to do that. You know? Like
I think it's also are we gonna have this conversation? I think it's also the fact that if you're spending the night, there's obviously a bed involved.
Yes. Yeah.
And so for them, it's just like the stage has been set.
The bed is also available in the daytime.
Maybe not for Avangana Kala the like understanding.
Yeah.
For them, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. Like I would love to have this conversation with that generation and genuinely ask, you say you can't sleep over and stuff, but is it because you don't want to enable what you already know? Or is it genuinely because you want to like stop something? Because you genuinely think nothing has happened? Because in their naivete, they actually think, Because I can't gauge that. When I've had the conversations with family, a lot of them have basically like just laughed it off because they know, like they do know, they absolutely do know. They're like, no, I'm like, I know it, you know it,
We know it.
but you just, and like I think also like it's also worse when you have a daughter, and when you have parents who are like, and also the community will shame you. Oh, what did you know about the holiday? Holiday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even
like, I mean, Pomela Pele, what did you know about the
Yeah.
Like, and I'm like, rah, but if it's a guy, they're going on holiday to Barcelona. What's amazing is the amount of couples who do travel before marriage now.
yeah.
Like, well done, guys. Well fucking done. Because that has only taken us 2024 to make this like a thing.
I'm in my 30s, and
Yeah.
if I have to,
Yeah.
if I meet someone that I'm like, okay, that's gonna be my partner, I
Yeah.
need to tell my dad I'm going to travel abroad with them.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna come to this episode for pointers,
No, but like it literally is like,
and then let Nishani have a chat with my dad. Be like, Uncle,
no, I'm
come
scared.
on.
Conversation. I remember talking to my Abba about, we'll move into this in a second, but when I was like floating the idea of living together, and he passed away ages before I met my husband, and I was talking about like, you know, just generally what are his opinions of living together with someone before kalyanam.
Yeah.
And he just laughed and he went, living together saying go, but 6 months pregnant and not in the same. And I was like, Abba, what the hell?
No, you know what? I rate that so
and
much.
I was like, oh my god.
I
like,
rate
"Alright
that
then."
so much because I feel like parents will just turn around and be like, no, because that's what they're afraid of.
Yeah,
They'll be
yeah.
like, no,
don't even.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're afraid of. But if
Yeah.
they turned around and they're
Yeah.
just like, listen, you
Yeah.
can live together, but don't
Yeah,
come
yeah,
out,
yeah.
don't come here knocked
Yeah.
up in 6 months.
What do I do
if you're not married?
literally? He
Because
was
then
like,
it's a you problem.
but then he like, I need you pregnant, not in the same. I was like, firstly, you don't need to do anything if I call you up and tell you I'm pregnant. And also, this is like, he passed when I was 23, so I'm having this chat with him when I'm like 22. Yeah, like the thought of pregnancy is like,
Oh my god,
the
you're
line
brave.
is a dot. The line is a dot to me.
You-
So like, I'm just like, you know, just throwing it out there. And I was like, and then he dropped pregnancy, and then I got scared. And I was like, you live now, I won't live together. I was like, no, I'm scared of pregnancy. I don't want to do that.
Like for them, I think in the way they see everything, it's just like marriage is the only safeguard.
Yeah.
Marriage is the only guarantee. Marriage is the only way that they're not going to like shirk their responsibilities.
Yeah.
Up until such time, yeah, it's all good, but it allows them to walk away.
Yeah. A part of me does agree. Not necessarily in terms of like getting a woman pregnant, but it does change. Like dating, that transition from like dating to kalyanam, I think both of you do step up.
Yeah.
Without
And I think it's also
realising, yeah.
because like as a society, that is how marriage has been marketed towards
Also that.
us. Because like there are definitely societies and communities in the world where marriage isn't really a thing. They don't prescribe to it.
No.
But they'll go from like dating, like long-term relationships, they'll be with their partners for like 14, 15, 16 years onwards.
Yeah.
And that responsibility comes.
Yeah.
But it's just how we've been raised.
Yeah.
We've been raised in a
And
society.
nangal kalyanam nangal
Yeah.
adukle.
And,
which is
and because
triggering.
of that, we want kalyanam.
Yeah, because we think that's the only way to. Oh, so triggering.
Yeah, which actually brings me quite nicely into the next bit, which is dating outside the culture.
So, have you dated outside the culture?
Yes.
And yes, so have I. I think it's very natural to date outside the culture.
That's interesting because the way I was raised, I was almost like hell bent on not dating outside the culture. At one point in my
I think
life.
it's I think the reality versus the unreality of things. I think it's in my head. It was even when I was dating outside the culture, I think there was a part of me that was very much like, I don't know. I think at the time I was convinced that this was the person for me. It wasn't ever like. I think there was obviously in the back of my head. It was like, oh my god, how am I going to tell my parents? Which just never happened anyway. But like, I think there was a part of me that was quite delulu about.
Are we all though when it comes to love?
No, like yeah, like you know that I was very much like, no, this is the person I'm going to be with. For the rest of my life. Or whatever.
I think I think for me it was like I remember like a point in my life quite late in my teens actually. I was quite like I was like, I will only be with Tamil guy.
Yeah.
I will only be with Tamil guy, and I was like, the conviction was real.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I've never felt that strongly about dating a Tamil person.
No,
Like,
mate,
I don't think that
listen,
came to until I was like 25, 26.
like if
even then,
if
I'm like,
I was able to be preserved in the bubble in which I was raised, oh, I don't know. I don't think we'd be friends. I don't think we would be able to be friends.
Yeah, because you would just be in that mindset of fair, man. Like, I think, that's tough.
It was very much, and I was very like passionate about it as well at that point in my life.
Okay.
I was just like,
yeah.
it will be a Tamil person. God. And like, you know me, and like I would be like, it will be a Tamil person.
Yeah.
Like, if it's not, I ain't interested.
Oh my God.
And because of that, it sort of like restricted me from being able to just open my mind to people, like generally, like as a general term. Because like for me, it was just like, I'm only ever going to be interested in Tamil guys because I'm going to marry a Tamil guy and be with a Tamil guy for the rest of my life.
That a lot of people have that view. I don't think you're isolated. I think the majority, actually, dare I say, do kind of feel that. I think there's two things. It's the pressure of what is put on us growing up, in terms of this is the person that you are going to marry. Like this is, you're going to marry within the culture. You're going to marry this. And also, I think that subliminally becomes what we want at a very young age. Because I know even people now are very much like, no, I'm looking for a Tamil person. It's very intentional. And I think for me, I don't know what it was. I think I was definitely, I don't want to bring astrology into this, but I was really living my Pisces best life when I was young. I'm not even going to lie to you. I think I was just up in the bloody clouds. I don't know who I thought I was, because looking back at that person, she was highly unrealistic. So that was not going to work.
Yeah, I think what was interesting for me was when I sort of started, almost like, as cliche as it's going to sound, I started becoming a student of life. Like, my horizons expanded, my mindset opened up. I was meeting people from all different walks of life, and sort of like the bubble in which I was raised sort of just shattered around me. And because of that, I met some really amazing people, just generally through work, through like mutual friends. And when I look back at it, I was just like, wow, if I like the way I was sort of like conditioned and raised, I was really like stopping myself from seeing all of that. I
think there's a boundary you put, even if you were to find someone who was amazing or whatever and who wasn't Tamil, instantly a part of you is like, they're not Tamil. Like, or either pohum.
Interesting. So like and that's where I became Delulu, because like, even if I dated outside the culture, I think one thing that I definitely, as sort of like a running theme when I would speak to people from outside the culture, was that they had to be interested in my culture. Like, they had to show some sort of like appreciation, curiosity, like intrigue about my culture. And what I did find, which I really appreciate, is that I met people who were so open to Tamil culture, Sapadu, the language, films, music, and they're people like, they've not been remotely like raised in a similar sort of culture or upbringing. They're just appreciative, you know, they want to learn. And I think that made me really proud of where I came from.
That's really interesting, because I've definitely dated people who have outwardly not been.
That's really sad.
It's been really sad. And I think I've had to tone down the Tamil. Yeah.
I got to tone it up.
And it's wild, because I am so Tamil. I have always been so Tamil. Like, extracurricular hobbies, Tamil school, everything. Like, and then I think at that part of my life, I just like packed it up when I was with them.
Yeah. There are people in this world who just want you to be you in like your wholeness, which includes your cultural identity.
And to be you in the relationship, like to be your authentic self in the relationship. And I think that is often a conversation sometimes we struggle to do that in our own culture, man, in our own
Yeah.
relationship, you know.
Which was
And
what I was going to
it's so beautiful that when you do date sometimes outside the culture, they hold that space for you
Yeah.
to be that person that sometimes you don't even get to be in your own culture. Sometimes you get judged within your own community for being so Tamil.
Yes.
Like, oh my God,
Yeah.
she's fresh. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God, she's Tamil.
Okay, she's got something
Yeah.
cultural to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Like, you know,
Yeah.
instantly becomes it. Yeah. Like, but it's so nice that when two cultures collide
Yeah.
like this, there's a really nice synergy that comes with it.
Yeah.
And that's really, really beautiful. And there's so many couples who have made it work, who do keep the conversation current. Some of which we did interview for the podcast, who you see on the page. But it is I think also dating outside the culture made me move into the culture.
That's so interesting because I feel like
Yeah.
it's having the opposite effect on me.
Because I realized, no, I need to be able to do like
Tamil things.
Tamil things
Yeah.
with someone, because
And
I am so unapologetically Tamil,
Yeah.
or at least learning to be more and more so. And I was like, no, I definitely have to be with someone who's on my wavelength.
100%.
Otherwise, all my Tamilness, I feel like it's wasted. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
a one-man
yeah,
show.
yeah.
But I'd love it to be a two-man and then go
Yeah.
to a family man show.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? I was
That's
like,
you not letting go of that pipe dream.
like
Family
not
man
that you know, not that you can't do that with someone who's like outside the culture. Also, we've both dated outside religion.
Yeah.
Outside our religion, outside of our culture. So that comes with a lot of differences in cultural practices, religious practices. The conversation is almost entirely different. Versus, and I think that wasn't necessarily, no, I think in my case I did find it a bit, we did
Clash.
there was a lot of clashing.
Oh yeah.
Especially I think when religion came into the conversation, massive clashes. Having said that, even within your community, a lot of people don't practice.
Yeah.
And I know that I've seen that be an issue in some, even like Tamil relationships.
Yeah.
Where one person's like, I don't want to go temple.
Yeah. Or one person's just a little bit nonchalant, which is fair.
Yeah.
Whereas the other person is
very
chalant.
chalant.
I think, it's definitely, I do recognize that, you know, if you were doing it like as a interracial, interreligious couple, it is harder because you're sort of like doing the advocacy on your own. There's not support, right?
And it's almost like if you cannot, it's like convincing the other person if that situation you're kind of put in, and if you can't convince them or don't make them understand your point, it's always like an uphill struggle. It's like a rolling problem in the relationship. And I think
it's sort of like, I think that's where people have like that whole like compromise aspect, and where do you draw that line does definitely come into it. But like you said, there definitely are instances where people, even within our community and our culture and our religion, are just so unbothered by it. And that I sometimes feel like I need to tone down my Tamil with Tamils. And that I feel like that for me in like a dating space is really, it's a real tough pill to swallow, because I'm just like, I'm with my own and I'm still being made to feel like there's big age. I'm being made to feel like, wow, you're just really going to judge me for my like relationship with my culture. And like how much of part of my identity it is. And like I've had this conversation with like women in the community where I'm just like, sometimes you get people from outside the community who are way more respectful, appreciative, and acknowledging of your culture. Like I definitely know people who've like married outside the culture, and like their partner will be inverti,
cooking angana saapadu,
eating angada saapadu, eating with their hands, calling like all your relatives by their like murayana pair. It's so beautiful and so tragic at the same time that there are people that exist in the world, and we're sort of like being raised to just be like, we want people from like one culture.
I think
when there is so much out there where you can, and we've seen it work, you know, and it does transcend generations. Like I have relatives who are much older than me who have married outside the culture and sort of like pioneered that path of which I'm regularly reminded of. Be like, we did the hard work for you, and they make it work beautifully.
Yeah. When you date within your community, your culture, race, religion, it's sometimes you're complacent in looking into the history of things.
Absolutely.
Like you don't need to. Like,
You don't, because you're born into it.
What's the problem?
Yeah.
Like, I know everything, you know everything is cool in it. But when you are instantly faced with someone who asks you a question and you don't know how to answer it, you're like, I'll look into that for you.
Yeah.
And then like it's also just like knowledge share and knowledge expansion and like all of that
and
as well that comes with it.
And what I found in my experiences was there actually were quite a bit of similarities. Yeah. And we got to sort of like bond over the similarities, but also the differences, and also like hold space to appreciate one another's cultures. Whilst, you know, like throughout the course of this episode, it's become crystal clear I've not really told my parents about my dating life. I definitely know when that time comes, whatever the outcome of that relationship is, like in that moment in time, if it's a go for me, I mean, like I'm in my 30s, right? 100%. I'm not making like rash decisions about the person I'm choosing to spend the rest of my life with, the person that I'm contemplating on raising a family with. Oh my god, those are not just like slipshot decisions that I'm making. I'm often overthinking them.
Marriage is bloody tough. Like, it is not easy. It is a lot of work. Every day is a choice. You know, you choose to be there every day. And
Nishani's told me that there's no lifetime warranty apparently, and you cannot return to the manufacturer.
No lifetime warranty.
That's news to me.
No refunds, no exchanges.
Complete news to me.
You know, so it's if you're not with a partner you're compatible with, what is the point? Like, there's no point marrying someone for like a tick box because it makes everybody happy except yourself. Like, no. Yeah. No. We are very nicely coming out of this tick box generation who are doing things to please other people. And like, Kalyana Manda is not a joke, man.
And you know what? It's hard work to undo that repetitive teaching us to be people pleasers. Yeah. So, you know, I'm for one very proud of the fact that I belong to this generation where we are making such huge strides, and I'm proud of our parents also for being able to take it in some grace. They're trying to be gracious about it.
I think also, like, if we were to have kids, like, and they weren't going to marry someone who's Tamil, I hope that I've instilled enough Tamil in them to keep it going. Yeah. You know, like, I've got the faith that even if, like, you don't want to marry someone who is Tamil, I don't fucking care. But, you know enough, and I've given you enough knowledge to keep that going. Yeah. With your partner, with your children, like, you keep it an ongoing conversation, as opposed to just like chucking it out the window. You know, like your culture and your vamsam and everything is like secondary. I think that's all I would hope for when I have children, to that they can continue the conversation that we've begun. And I think it just comes back down to the preservation of identity in this whole thing. Not losing your Tamilism, not losing your Tamilness whilst dating, if that's something that you are passionate about. And I think at the end of the day, in dating inside the culture, dating outside the culture, whatever, you still manage, should you want to, you keep that going. And I think that is like almost a take home, I think, part in terms of like dating and sort of keeping it. How do you keep it going? And I think that's a constant conversation, not even just culture, but also when two people are in a relationship, how do you keep that relevance and how do you find the balance? I think that kind of wraps it up.
Yeah, pretty much.
This was like a cheeky.
Are you going to say it? Prequel to the sequel.
Oh yeah. This was like a whistle stop tour of all the cheeky things, all the Kalli things that we've done when it comes to dating. And then we have a second part, which is a little bit more introspective.
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
A bit deep, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it is
deep.
It is, but you know what? I actually think it's a real nice,
Continuation.
of our journeys
Yes. Also
as
that.
well.
Yeah. So stay tuned for part 2.
We are Thanusha.
And Nishani.
Thank you, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Bye.